Hello everybody, it's 4:01 and we are live streaming. Today we're going to cover, I have a couple things I want to talk about relationships, and then I have some things I want to share about growth and ultimately happiness. Happiness is one of my favorite topics. We are live streaming. Today we're going to cover I have a couple things I want to talk about. Okay, so let's start. Well, this is kind of a downer thing to start with, but I'm going to end on such a positive note. Let's start with this. Controlling relationships. 7 signs you're in a controlling relationship. Why am I starting with such a depressing thing? We could start with this. Let's start with this. Let's start with how men and women know they're in a satisfying relationship. Oh, that's why I was going to do controlling, right? I can move right from controlling, which is the darkness and negative, into all the positive. We'll end the show on a positive note. And I'm mom, right? It would be my job to tell you if you're in a controlling relationship because I'm your mom. And I don't want you in a bad relationship that's going to make you miserable. And then in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, you're going to have to get divorced. And who knows what pain you go through in the meantime. So, okay, are you in a controlling relationship? There are 7 signs. Now, I'm saying that if any one of these has happened, don't say you're in a controlling relationship. If you want to break up, just break up. We so often do that. I hear so many women, especially, I guess it's because I've read that 75% of the time women are the ones who leave the relationship. And so that's maybe why they feel the need to justify leaving. And so they oftentimes make their partner, oh, he's abusing me, he's racist, those kind of things. But you know what? I'm bored. The sex is no good. He's just not interesting anymore. He's not a reliable mate. These are good reasons for walking. I don't want to be with him for the long haul. That's a good reason. That's a good reason. So let's talk to 7. And if you have all 7, please, if you don't get out, at least see a counselor, right? Maybe they can help you out. But the first one is intimidation. Now, the person is not going to do this all the time, or they didn't start the relationship this way. I mean, certainly if you've ever had a bad boss, you know that someone who wants to date you isn't going to meet you and treat you like a bad boss initially, because otherwise you never go out with them. So oftentimes people who want to control you, I'm not going to say men. I know that societally we have a way of nabbing men for that, but I've seen many women. As a matter of fact, one of yesterday's topics was texting and how women use texting to control men and to, who are you with? What are you doing? But anyway, so they will be nice to you, and then they will say things like, okay, well, if you're the one who did that, then you're in trouble. There's always this implication of you're in trouble. You've really messed up now. Oh, you're the one, the problem here. So it's intimidation. The second point is emotional abuse. Now, don't go running off with anytime he says something you don't want to hear that it's emotional abuse. But certainly name calling, and we all need to own it. We all do name calling sometime, but this is like this person does intimidation. They do name calling, and it's not just one time in the middle of a fight. It's with that intimidation. It's a tool of that. The blaming. Everything is your fault. They do not intend to grow in the relationship. They intend to stay the same, and they intend to let you know that you should do all you can to accommodate them. cycles of good and bad. There will be good times. They have to charm you some of the time or you will not stay. And whether they do that consciously or unconsciously, usually what happens is unconsciously, they feel you slipping away, so they start being charming, and then they suck you in, and the romance is happening, and they see the warmth and the trust on your face, and then something clicks off on them, and I don't even think they know why, but they start feeling they have to be in charge over you. Next is lots of apologizing. And this just isn't on your side, although there'll be lots of it on your side because remember you got blamed for everything, so you're going to have to apologize because remember you were intimidated because everything was your fault. You were in trouble. So you'll do a lot of apologizing, but also they'll apologize because profusely after there's been a session of completely ridiculous name calling where it was over the top. Then, oh, honey, 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 if you threaten to leave, they'll go, oh, baby, 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 I'm so sorry, honey. So that's another thing you need to be aware of. Number 6, your wants are mocked or dismissed. A lot of times, now, women have a tendency to give in and give in and give in and give in. Now, that's not the same as having your needs or wants dismissed or mocked. I'm saying when you say, oh, I'd like to get this, and your partner says, oh, you'd like to get that. Well, isn't that nice? Too bad. Money doesn't grow on trees. And they make fun of your want or desire. At the same time, they might turn around and go spend that same amount of money on themselves for something they want and will not even explain it to you. And finally, number 7 is isolation. Not just from your friends, but even isolation from your family, because they don't want to be uncovered. These symptoms are pretty glaring, and it's only when you're stuck in them that you can't see it. So pretty much anybody that interacts with you is going to see the symptoms if you talk about life at home or in your relationship at all. And your partner knows that and will do all they can to keep you alone. Maybe keep you away from work, family, and friends. How we doing? 410. Okay. Now we're going to deal with, this is from a post called Bedpost, and it's titled Study, Men and Women in More Satisfying Relationships Have Lower Testosterone. So what the study says, they took 39 heterosexual couples, so keep that in mind, 18 to 31, so they were younger, and they'd had the relationship anywhere from 2 months to 7 years. So that's kind of tough because people with shorter relationships have more satisfaction in it anyway, as a given. But they did go all the way up to 7 years. And they talked to them to ask them how satisfied they were with their relationship, whether they were committed, and whether they were invested in the relationship. And they found that clearly, if there was it's called negatively correlated, and what that means is if the woman had low testosterone, then the man could have high testosterone and they would be good. Or if the man had low testosterone, the woman had high testosterone, they would be good. They had to have negatively matched levels of testosterone for the relationship to work. Yeehaw! You know, I read something this morning that I actually didn't keep to share with you about a woman who's starting a new dating service called something Love Health, something like that. If anybody's interested in it, just write me. I wanted to tell you, I didn't open my show properly today. Again today, so day 2. What can I say? This is Ask Mom Live, and this is a Monday through Friday daily live streaming show from 4 to 4:30, where you can write in your comments at the bottom of my screen here, or you can go email me at askmomlive@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. You can talk about relationships. You can talk, which means family, friends, school, work. You can talk about life goals. We can even talk about homework and what to make for dinner. I'm mom. So what would you talk to mom about? That's what you can talk to me about. Okay? That's it. So now that we got those two little ditties out of the way, I'm pretty excited about these other two I want to share with you. This one's called, because I told you I'm into the happiness factor. Now that doesn't mean random, stupidly happy. That means like a happiness that comes in your core and gives you the power to face life. So it's called Post-Traumatic Growth, Thriving Through Crisis. And this was published in the FortLeavenworthLamp.com. Oh, so probably military, right? It was written by a Major Thomas A. Jarrett. And so sure, the military has that post-traumatic stress syndrome thing, and that's a horrible thing, but these people are looking at it differently. They're saying, see if there's a way to get away from seeing yourself as a victim in whatever's happening, and see, how do I resolve crisis in myself? How do I grow? Am I adaptive? Dr. Viktor Frankl, he was the author of a book called The Man's Search for Meaning. He was a Holocaust survivor and a psychiatrist. Wonderful book if you have a chance to read it. The first time I was going to read it, I didn't read the Holocaust part because that's usually a little more brutal than I can deal with. I just read the psychology part, and that was really powerful. But then I read the Holocaust part, and when you find out this article comes to life, and surviving, becoming much more than just surviving, comes to life when you read that book, because he faced. When I read that book, my goal was to prepare myself if I ever was in a situation where I was in, like, I know everybody thinks I'm a nutcase, but if I was locked up somewhere, would I be able to manage it? If I was in a Holocaust, if I was in a crisis like that, could I handle it emotionally? And the way he opted for love to be his weapon or tool, depending on how you want to see it, all the way through was simply amazing. And he says, people must find an adaptive meaning for their suffering if they are to survive and thrive. Thriving is what Major Thomas A. Jarrett is talking about in this article. So there are two psychologists from the University of Northern Carolina, James Calhoun and Richard Tedeschi, and they actually coined the phrase post-traumatic growth in 1986. And there is something called a post-traumatic growth inventory, and that what that does is it measures a person's own growth or thriving responses in 5 areas of life. 1, their appreciation for life, their relating to others, their personal strength, their ability to see new possibilities, and their ability to live out spiritual change. All of the people who, oh, this is so exciting to me. They said that virtually all cultures surveyed recognize similar growth patterns. And the reason why that means so much to me is, I want to say, I don't like to depend on a religion because it only works if people stuff into my belief system. But there's so many people on the planet that don't believe my belief system, and I'm not willing to say that they're wrong or going to hell, or I don't want to do that. So I believe what I want to believe, and they can believe what they want to believe, and we all go to the same place. That's what I like to think. Even that's the ground, I don't care. So anyway, but this says that across culture, these 5 categories stand. So then it says to me it's a little bit more believable, because people in Africa, people in China, people in America, all similar. And they talk about, they quote Epictetus. He's a Roman Stoic philosopher, and he said, it's not the thing itself, but the view a man takes of it that disturbs him. And surely you know what he's talking about, right? In the morning you get up, and I mean, it's a tank, right? Is the gas tank half full or half empty? We'll start right there, get to the basics. And then Nietzsche said, if we know why, we can endure the how. And, you know, whether you like that or not, we do always ask why, don't we? We love to ask why. This is Ask Mom. It's my live streaming show. I want to welcome anybody who's come on board here. I offer this show from 4 to 4:30 on YouTube. It's Monday through Friday. And if you have any questions or comments, you can either send them to me there at askmomlive@gmail.com or post them in the comments section, and I'll be happy to respond to you. Another article, How to Bounce Back with an Emotional Suit of Armor. And this was in the Irish Independent. I love this. I love it. It talks about the armor for modern life is what it's being called. It's called emotional resilience. Now, is that empowering? Just for that resilience, I like it. And it's the latest self-improvement technique. And it's basically, it's the key to overcoming life's obstacles. So it comes from the Latin word resilio, which means to bounce back. And it is, the nice thing about it is, once it's learned, you don't have to keep learning it. It becomes infused in you. It's a completely transformative lesson or tool that'll change the way you see things. Well, they say forever, so I like forever. So it doesn't stop bad things from happening, but it stops how you respond, defining how you respond to them. It doesn't mean you ignore their meaning. It means whatever it is, you can face it, you can bounce back, you can recover from it. So there's a founder of a charity organization called Suicide or Survive, which is called SOS. Her name is Caroline McGuinn, and she says, people have the answers to the situations and the resilience within them. They just need some help to find it. Well, I'm not sure that's always true, but hey, I love the thought. I really think it sounds great. So there is a product called there's courses going around, certainly around Ireland and then around London. It's a group called the Samaritans in Britain, and they offer emotional resilience courses. And it says about the people who attend, that they develop a bunch of ideas about how they can change their own thought process. Making people understand that we all respond to things differently is really about, and it's really about understanding yourself. Sorry, I made a mess of that one. But yes, it's about understanding yourself. So emotional resilience is waking up to your own abilities to look at, process, and endure, or even flip that over and not see an enduring life, but making the most of it, seeing it optimistically. Say I wanted to ask anybody about this if they thought about it. I was reading an article, Modern Relationships, Moving for Love, and it's about long-distance relationships. Okay, I think long-distance relationships have some value. Last week, Jason Stanford, whose wife Sonia Van Meter is on the list of candidates for the first human mission to Mars, published an essay about the way people have reacted to their potential interplanetary long-distance relationship. Now, he's some guy, right? I mean, he's going to let her go to Mars till they're both dead. Because I don't know. I thought once you go to Mars, you never come back. If anybody hears this and wants to straighten me out, just type it in the comments section, whether or not that's true or not. But that was my understanding, that once you go to Mars, you're not coming back. So to have a long distance relationship with someone who's never coming back, that's a bold move on his part. Bold. Oh, let's handle a little dilemma here. This woman writes in, she's on a show called Hacks. And she writes in, I graduated and I have some, financial debt. But I've put myself in a pretty good position. My boyfriend will graduate with $200,000 in student debt. Now, she doesn't say, that's from his master's, so she doesn't say what he's getting a master's in. But she's saying, she's thinking maybe breaking up because she doesn't really want to go into life with that kind of debt. Now, I'd love it if anybody out there hearing this could reply and let me know what you think about that. Okay, so what do I think about that? I think that it matters what his job is. Is his earning potential, that's like saying, well, my boyfriend's a doctor and he's, $200,000 in debt. Well, certainly right now with healthcare, the way it's changing and everything, that might be a concern. But if he was a financial analyst, say, and going to work for a stock company, then their expected income is $200,000 a year. So it's going to take 5 years to pay it back, but it's doable. Then I'd say don't worry about it. If you love him, if you're not just looking for a way out. But at the same time, if his master's degree is in social work and he's got $200,000 in debt and he's only going to make $50,000 a year and you're never going to be able to breathe, I have compassion on your thinking. That's a tough call. I'll tell you that. That's a tough call. So what else can we talk about today? Let's see. Pearls of wisdom here. Pearls of wisdom. Oh, let's do some quotes. Since nobody's watching right now, I'm going to go get, revisit the wit and wisdom of Dr. Seuss tonight. What's that about? I love Dr. Seuss. You've been to the Dr. Seuss Museum in San Francisco? Great fun. Great fun. It's small, but I love his artwork. Another one is Bill Pete. There's some other great artwork. Very amusing. Love kids' books, Kids' books are where it's at. Oh, I don't know if we're going to get Dr. Seuss brought up here too quickly, so let's see if we can. Let's see, what else do we have going? Let's say, let's see. Pearls of wisdom. She's doing pearls. Okay. Let's see. I don't want to get rid of all our stories. I'm still waiting for hope. Oh yeah, this new book by Arianna Huffington. What do you think? The 4 metrics: well-being, wisdom, wonder, and giving. Now I gotta say, right with our articles today, what do we have? We have the post-traumatic growth And emotional resilience. Well, this goes right along with that. How are you going to have your well-being? What's going to be your tool? I mean, yes, I want those. I want those. I want well-being. I want wisdom. I want wonder. I want giving. I want them. But how are you going to get them? I love these tools I shared with you today. That's how I'm going to get well-being. What about wisdom? Well, I got to tell you, life will give you wisdom. Just the time it takes to live it will give you wisdom. But sometimes that can be, hard knocks aren't the most pleasant way to get wisdom. And what can I recommend? I can recommend listening. No, we don't do it. I mean, have you ever tried to save somebody pain? Seriously, you can't do it. Nobody wants to be saved pain. Say if you said to somebody, "Oh, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I don't think your guy is treating you right." You're going to be defensive. Everybody does it. I mean, we all do it. Even when we do that, "Oh, do I look fat in this dress?" If your girlfriend said, "Well, you kind of do," you may never take her shopping again. I told her yesterday that she has to say, "It's not the most flattering," because, we get so defensive. But if you could let the guard down and not be defensive, then you get wisdom. Young people, understand that if we've done something longer, no, we don't always know better, but we've had more knocks hitting us in the head, so hopefully we've learned something from that. Next is wonder. Now, I do believe wonder is a beautiful thing. It does create hope. It allows you to see beauty. It keeps you fresh. It keeps you from being a sourpuss. Now, giving. Giving, however you do it. Now, you can't give to get. You know that, right? Giving has to be a pure thing, a pure act. So many people in my life, the giving has, when I was raising my kids, the giving was with an expectation of getting something back. Oh, here, let's read these. Giving derives from empathy. How does one learn empathy? Children learn empathy from their parents, but it's not too late to learn that. How? If you didn't get taught from your parents, I guess the implication there. Here is her guidance. Make small gestures of kindness and giving a habit. During the day, make a personal connection with people you might normally tend to pass by or take for granted. Use a skill or talent you have to help someone who could benefit from it. So, it's 4:29. We're nearing the end of the show, and I want to tell you one more time, this is Ask Mom. This is my weekly show. It's from Monday through Friday from 4 to 4:30. It's a live streaming show where you can type in your questions or comments below this on the site on YouTube, or you can go to Ask Mom. Send me an email at askmom@gmail.com, and I will be happy to answer your questions. AskMomLive@gmail.com. Great. Thanks, and have a terrific day. Oh, it's the weekend. Enjoy. It's the weekend. no. I want it to end.